Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Yes, it's the Skeptic Zone podcast, episode number 673, for the 29th of August, 2021. Richard Saunders coming to you from the extended lockdown in Sydney, Australia. Of course, the not so happy news is the numbers here in Australia continue to rise, especially in this state, New South Wales, where we've been hitting over 1,000 new cases a day, largely within the Sydney area. And this is despite the stringent lockdowns and curfews and what have you. And of course, we realise without these conditions put in place, the new cases each day would be in the thousands. The hospital system at the moment is barely coping. I dread to think what would be the case if we didn't have these lockdowns in place. How many more people would be trying to get into the emergency wards and being turned away? It's not an easy situation, no matter how you look at it. It's tough, it really is, and I wish it was all over. But what's not all over is the Skeptic Zone this week. What's coming up? You can count on Adrian with Adrian Hill this week. Adrian heads for the tourist area of Jasper in Canada, a spectacular area. The vistas are incredible, the mountains are just marvellous, but also included with the incredible views is a crystal shop. What does Adrian find? Find out. After that, we jump straight into the Trove segment this week, where we wander through the decades of digital archives. This week, we're looking for references to thought reading. Not mind reading, well, it's more or less the same thing, but it's called thought reading. Can you read my mind? After that, it's the Australian Skeptics newsletter, once again, read by Adrian Hill, all the way over there in Canada. And what a great job she's doing with the skeptical news every other week. Then to round off the show, something completely different, not very skeptical at all, just goofing off, because why not? Because lockdown's been going for months and we're all going a bit stir-crazy. I made the grave error of calling up that goose Maynard and asking him how he beats the lockdown blues. Turn off your brain and relax at the end of the show with Maynard. And a big happy birthday to those people who have had a birthday in the last week since the last episode. Or maybe your kids have had a birthday, or your parents, or your brother, or your sister, or somebody you know. That's an old cold reading trick. There's a trick in cold reading, especially when it's done live from the stage in front of an audience, I call the birthday routine. And it goes something like the psychic will look at a section of the audience and say, I'm getting a strange message here. I'm getting a message. Who here has had a birthday last month, or could it be this month? Pause. Somebody is likely to put up their hands because statistically, given the size of the audience and so on, or they'll say a birthday or a celebration in the family. Was it last month or this month? Maybe next month. I've seen that more than once, that trick. And if you're a believer, you're sitting in the audience and you've happened to have a birthday within a week or two of the event, then it's like the psychic has read your mind. But I digress. Well, I'm trying here at the Skeptic Zone headquarters to get my 3 little ducks in a row. It's not always easy. Well, that's enough for me. And at the moment it's now... What's that? Are you a little cat meowing for some attention? Maud the cat is at the bottom of the stairs I normally run down. I know what I'll find when I go down there. I can hear her. She's sitting at the bottom of the steps and she's got her toy mouse on the floor. And she cries and she meows until I run down the steps and play with her toy mouse. And I'll grab a cup of coffee at the same time. While I'm doing all that, I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone. you can count on Adrian. With Adrian Hill.
We are very fortunate to live close to the Rocky Mountains here in Canada. Now that our province of Alberta has opened things up, my husband and I decided to take a trip to the lovely town of Jasper to hike and visit the local shops. Jasper is a quaint town that was once a regular camping destination for us, but we haven't visited in many years. After a day of hiking, we ventured into one of the stores we remembered most fondly, called the Jasper Rock and Jade Shop, where our kids used to buy small rocks as souvenirs. The store was much the same as we remembered it, and we settled in to enjoy the colorful and captivating rocks, crystals, pottery, and artwork that the store is known for. One of the first items we noticed was an alien carved from a mineral they called ocean jasper, no relation to the name of the town. That was quite beautiful. And it had a price to match. It was $1,695. What we noticed next made us laugh out loud. Next to several other lovely carvings using the same mineral was an apparent information card that we hoped would tell us more about this interesting substance. But instead, we got, quote, Ocean Jasper, metaphysical properties, a stone of joy and relaxation, encourages a renewed interest in life, dissolves negative moods, eases depression, soothes the nervous system, relieves the effects of chronic stress, supports the adrenals and aids in recovery from adrenal exhaustion. End quote. I was tempted to ask the employees where they got their information regarding the metaphysical properties of the rocks and crystals, but the store was busy, and I was too lazy to wait in line with already tired feet. Instead, I waited until I got home to investigate further. First, I looked on their website, and there was no mention of anything metaphysical, just names and pictures and some descriptions of the products they have in the store. Second, I tried to find where the shop owners may have found these words of wisdom. A search of the text in quotes resulted in no matches, so I just searched for Ocean Jasper metaphysical properties without the quotes. And I got quite an education. SoulSisterDesigns.com and HealingCrystalsForYou.com state that Ocean Jasper connects to the heart chakra, encouraging such things as optimism, joy, and love. This agrees with the Jasper store, although they at least left out the chakras. For now. On other sites, I found even more wondrous things that putting a mineral sitting beside you can do, including, according to the site Crystal Vaults, drawing its power from the element of water. That's water with a capital W for some reason. Plus, it's apparently useful, quote, in draining the lymph system of toxins that cause body odor and flatulence, end quote. I am not making this up. I guess if I bought some Ocean Jasper, there would be no further need for deodorant or antacids. Back in the shop, I noticed many more of these informative little cards on other merchandise. I discovered that copper, quote, aids in amplifying energies when paired or wrapped around other stones, unquote. It encourages learning and, of course, treats arthritis, which my grandmother must have believed in because I remember her wearing a copper bracelet in the 1970s to stop her arthritic pain. I guess some things never really change or go away. Copper also supports iron in red blood cells and reproductive organs in women, whatever that means. Next was citrine, a variety of yellow quartz which, quote, attracts wealth, prosperity, success, and all good things, unquote. I wonder if that means that it will attract beautiful photo opportunities while hiking, and maybe it will keep bad things away, like biting black flies. Then, we were pleasantly surprised to find a nicely informative card for sandstone. Maybe it doesn't have metaphysical properties. The card said that the sandstone was formed 180 to 220 million years ago and that the colors came from mineral springs containing iron oxide. Unfortunately, this trend did not last long. Subsequently, the next cards were back to the weird and woeful. Labradorite, a stone that is used for magic, divination, and enhances one's psychic abilities. Petrified wood that assists in past life recall. Selenite, which not only activates the third eye, but intensely activates it and the crown and soul star. Here we go. Chakras. I had to look these up since I am not chakra educated. For those of you like me who haven't studied chakras, the crown chakra is the 7th chakra and is located on the crown of the head. The soul chakra is the 8th chakra and is found above the crown chakra and is considered the point where spiritual energy enters the body. In addition, if you want to communicate with angels, then selenite is for you. I'm not sure why hospitals don't have this next one in all their rooms, since it is, quote, useful for healing broken bones, unquote. What is this magical healing mineral? It is red calcite. It apparently also strengthens blood, whatever that means. Maybe blood cells are good at lifting weights. And it is excellent for weight loss and balancing hormones. It was wonderful to see the town of Jasper again and to revisit some of our old haunts from the past. And while the Jasper Rock and Jade Shop was much the same as we had remembered, neither me nor my husband remember them having the spiritual and metaphysical meanings assigned to the rocks and minerals that we witnessed on this trip. Though I might not have paid as much attention nor recognized the dangers of such beliefs in the past. I wouldn't have thought that people might not go to the hospital if they have a broken bone. Instead, relying on rubbing, wearing, or sitting by a mineral or a rock. I wouldn't have thought that some might rely on magical thinking instead of consulting a qualified dietitian and a physician if they are trying to lose weight, need an iron supplement, or their hormones aren't balanced. I have become more aware of the dangers of such thinking since working with the Guerrilla Skepticism on Wikipedia Project, the GSOW, and the Skeptic Zone podcast, and I'm very grateful for that. Until next time, this is Adrienne Hill signing off.
Hi there, I'm Abhijit and I host the Rationable podcast on BeRationable.com. Every couple of weeks, I science the hell out of alternative medicines, health and nutrition fads, social media forwards, science news, and lots more. Of course, you can find all of my articles, podcast episodes, and lots more on www.BeRationable.com. See you there, and until then, always be rationable.
It's time to once again look in those digital archives at Trove, trove.nla.gov.au, the online resource from the Australian Government and the National Library of Australia. Maybe during lockdown they've got more time to digitise newspapers, journals, periodicals, gazettes and magazines. And of course, in keeping with our paranormal theme in general, this week I thought we'd look up mind reading. Or, as it turns out, thought reading. Now, why thought reading? That's because there are more returns for thought reading than mind reading, because mind reading, in the scheme of things, is a relatively new phrase. So going back many decades, even into the 1800s, the term used was thought reading. And we kick off by landing in the year 1883. On Saturday, the 14th of April, as reported in the Illustrated Sydney News. Thought reading. Mr. Barrett of the British Society for Psychical Research has delivered a lecture at the London Institution on thought reading, true or false. The lecture was based on the evidence gathered by a committee of the Society. The committee conducted a long series of experiments with the children of a clergyman at Buxton in Derbyshire. The experiments were thus conducted. One of the children being sent out of the room, the committee decided on some object in the house which was to be fetched by writing the name of the object on a piece of paper, which was passed from one to the other, no one else being present, and then burned. The child was then called, and was told only that it was to fetch an object that was in the house. The committee willed what this object was to be, and the child, without having the opportunity of gathering whatever might have been asserted from scanning their faces, left the room and in 10 or 12 seconds returned, in the large majority of cases, with the article willed. Some 328 trials were made, of which 202 were right, 127 of them being right on the first trial. By the doctrine of chances, 7 1/3 would have been right on the first trial. And again, if I had that mythical time machine, I would love to have been there during the process of this so-called test. And next we go forward a few years to the year 1908. In the Barrier Minor from Broken Hill, New South Wales, on Monday the 14th of December. Thought reading. Thought reading or telepathy, or whatever else one may choose to call it, possesses a powerful fascination for believers and skeptics alike. That is chiefly because we don't really understand it. Those who think they do are seeking for an opportunity of enlightening themselves on this branch of occult science, may combine an indulgence of their curiosity with public charity on Wednesday night, when Mr. Sebastian de Lorne George will give a séance at the Crystal Theatre. Mr. George has obtained credit for his mind-reading performances in England and America, as well as in Australia, and has puzzled a host of skeptics and tried the Psychical Research Party into a knot. His performance should be an interesting one, and as it is in the cause of charity, a bumper house should be assured. And I dare say we are reading the report of a mentalism act, a mentalist, although I don't think that term would have been used in 1908. I could be wrong. And interestingly enough, Barrier Minor dated 1908 again on the 12th of December, so around the same time. Thought reading. At the request of a number of gentlemen who have developed an interest in the occult demonstration known as thought reading, Mr. Sebastian George gave a private séance at the Freeman's Hotel last evening and succeeded in mystifying those present by an exhibition of his powers of what he claims to be thought transference. Various articles were hidden by those present, and in each instance, Mr. George, generally with the assistance of muscular contact, unerringly located the object in its hiding place. The demonstration was acknowledged to be an interesting one, and the skeptics had to admit that they were at fault in the manner of devising a popular explanation of how it was done. Now let's look to the Bathurst Times from New South Wales, dated the 17th of February, 1925. New thought reading, a professor's test. Much interest has been aroused by experiments in thought transference carried out recently at Gerald Balfour's house at Woking, Surrey, in the presence of his brother, Lord Balfour, Professor Gilbert Murray, and members of the Society for Psychical Research. Isn't it amazing how often this Society of Psychical Research appears? In the experiments, Professor Murray waited in the dining room of the house, while others present in the drawing room, which is separated from the dining room by a large hall, chose a subject which was then spoken of once quietly. Professor Murray was afterwards asked to come into the drawing room and say what thought subject was chosen, while his hand was lightly held by Mr. J. G. Piddington, president of the society. And I'll just stop there to say what an interesting coincidence, because the name Piddington is famous in Australia as one of the great mentalist acts of the post-war era. We read on. In 10 successive tests of this kind, the professor was successful in 5 in describing accurately the chosen subject. In one, those in the drawing room chose the subject of Queen Victoria learning that she was to succeed to the throne. When he came into the room, Professor Murray said, "It is something in a book. No, it is a picture. It is the news coming to Queen Victoria that she is Queen." Mr. Gerald Balfour said, "The thought transference, as they occurred in my house, cannot be accounted for by what we know at present. I have no doubt that some unknown factor was at work enabling communications to be made between the minds of 2 living persons. Thus, there is a difference from spiritualism involving communications by the living with the dead." Professor Murray's own theory is that his ordinary powers become super-sensitive so that he gets direct knowledge of another person's thought. He is skeptical about the play of an unknown power. Well, I'm not skeptical at all about a relatively simple mentalism routine. Although I wasn't there in 1925, nevertheless, if I was a betting man. Well, there you are, a bit of a shortened trove this week looking at thought reading. Not mind reading, no, not mind reading, but thought reading. But before we wrap up this segment, I'm going to read something completely and utterly off topic. Something I just happened across while I was doing lots of research in the Trove archives. Comes from The World from Hobart, Tasmania, published in 1919 on this 27th of February during the Spanish flu pandemic. And it is titled Useless Masks. One of the matters puzzling Dr. Robertson, chairman of the Melbourne Board of Health, is why the New South Wales government insists upon the people wearing masks in the street and permitting them to leave them off in their own homes. If masks, he says, are any good, it is in the homes and where there are congregations of people that they should be worn. But why use them in the streets and out of doors generally? It is generally agreed that the best precaution that can be taken is the breathing of pure air. And if that is so, why make the people wear masks when they are out in the air? This, he concluded, is one of the many things I cannot understand about New South Wales. Yes, I've said it many times before. You'll never know what you'll find when you look at the archives at trove.nla.gov.au, or even your local newspaper archives, no matter where you are listening in the world.
I'm Mick West. In my podcast, Tales from the Rabbit Hole, I have extended conversations with people who have been involved in conspiracy culture. I do this for a couple of reasons. Firstly, because it's really interesting. These people have great stories about how they fell down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole, what they did down there, and what it was that helped them out. Sometimes I also talk to people who investigate conspiracy theories, and they have equally fascinating stories from the other side. Secondly, I want to understand how best to prevent the spread of conspiracy theories and misinformation, which is an increasing problem in a time when alternative media is exploding. The best way to do this is to communicate effectively with the people involved, and the best way to do that is with a nice long chat. So check it out, Tales from the Rabbit Hole, tftrh.com.
Hello, everyone. This is Adrienne Hill from Canada, once again reading out the Australian Skeptics newsletter. Now, this newsletter, once you subscribe at skeptics.com.au, will come into your inbox every other week. This is newsletter number 130, written and compiled by Tim Mendham. All the stories mentioned in this newsletter come with links you can click on and read the full story for yourself. Hi all, it says. Hard to get away from COVID news at the moment, and it's a sad situation when the main news alternative is what's going on in Afghanistan. Our thoughts are with everyone going through hard times. To brighten your day, why not give a thought to nominating your least favorite paranormalist for the annual Bent Spoon Award? Read on. Tim. Bent Spoon nominations. Nominations are now open for the Australian Skeptics Bent Spoon Award, one of the least sought-after credits in the skeptical world, or any world for that matter. Skepticon. Register your interest now. Registrations of interest are now open for Skepticon, the 2021 Australian Skeptics Annual National Convention, which this year will be held on November 20th to 21st. It will be a joint event held by Australian Skeptics in Sydney, Australia, and the New Zealand Skeptics in Wellington, New Zealand, with face-to-face and online participation available, COVID willing. Note that, of course, should the current situation in Sydney regarding COVID and lockdowns continue, then we may be forced to have an online-only convention for the Sydney component. Hopefully the same won't apply in New Zealand. Details of the speakers and ticket prices will be available soon, but in the meantime, please register your interest at skepticon.org.au so you can receive the latest information. COVID skeptics request unvaccinated blood transfusions. An American Red Cross spokesperson has said that her organization has fielded questions from clients worried that vaccinated blood would be, quote, tainted, unquote, capable of transmitting components from the COVID vaccines. Red Cross officials have had to reassure clients that a COVID vaccine, which is injected into muscle or the layer of skin below, doesn't circulate in the blood. While the antibodies that are produced by the stimulated immune system in response to vaccination are found throughout the bloodstream, the actual vaccine components are not. So far, such demands have thankfully been rare, and the resounding answer from centers and hospitals has been no. Quote, I know of no one who has acceded to such a request, which would be an operational can of worms for a medically unjustifiable request, unquote, a chief medical officer of an Iowa blood center said. Another noted that, quote, less than 10% of the blood we collect does not have antibodies, unquote. Screenwriter dismisses anti-vax claims. One of the writers of the 2007 sci-fi film I Am Legend has clarified its fictional nature amid rumors COVID-19 vaccines would turn people into zombies. Oh dear. Okay, great film, but not real. The film is about a failed attempt to genetically re-engineer measles to cure cancer, killing 99% of the world's population. Those who survive the infection turn into mutant vampiric creatures. Responding to the article, Akiva Goldsman, who co-wrote the screenplay based on a 1954 novel of the same name, tweeted, quote, "Oh my God, it's a movie. I made that up. It's not real," unquote. We should add that the film I Am Legend is only loosely based on the book by Richard Matheson. Magna Carta mayhem in Edinburgh. A misguided attempt by about 20 people using phrases like, quote, "we the people," and, quote, "sovereign," to seize Edinburgh Castle under the Magna Carta proved short-lived. Protesters appeared to be objecting to COVID-19 lockdown, although Scotland has removed legally enforceable restrictions, so exactly what the problem was remains unclear. The fact that the Magna Carta also doesn't apply to Scotland, or even most people except for a bunch of 13th century disgruntled nobles, also seems to have passed them by. True crime and astrology course. What can astrology tell us about crimes, their victims, and the perpetrators? Using astrology charts, quote, the most amazing details come to light on perplexing disappearances, unquote. Beth Turnage will share techniques of forensic astrologers along with her own findings using the charts of crimes, fixed stars, and, quote, astrocartography, unquote. A free event on August 25th at 7 p.m. Sydney time. Might be worth a look. The September 2021 issue of The Skeptic will be out soon, in September in fact. It has a major feature on some recent publications, and one old one, and the in-depth response by skeptics and skeptics as to where there might be problems. Plus a whole range of stuff on aspects of religions, and a lot more. So if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time to do so. Contact the editor if you're not sure if your existing subscription needs renewing. To subscribe to The Skeptic, go to our shop to sign up for a hard copy or digital edition, or both. The digital is offered free to those who take up the hard copy version. Events. While some skeptics groups are running their regular Skeptics in the Pub get-togethers online, same talks but BYO beer, an increasing number are returning to the live face-to-face format. Check your local guides to see when and where such activities are on, or if they are on, considering any COVID restrictions. September 2nd, Sydney Skeptics in the Pub online. Speaker and topic to be announced soon. September 2nd, Launceston Skeptics on the Pub. Wilderness Society, 174 Charles Street, Launceston, from 5:30 p.m. September 9th, Queensland Skeptics, Peace Hall, 102 McDonald Road, Windsor, from 7 p.m. But check website to see if the event is on. September 15th, Perth Skeptics in the Pub. Freedom of Speech, A Skeptical View by Chris Hancock. 43 Below Bar and Restaurant, Perth, from 7 p.m. September 17th, Adelaide Critical Thinkers in the Pub. Benjamin on Franklin, from 6 p.m. onwards. September 20th, Vic Skeptics Cafe, online. Science books for children. Idan Ben Barak, science writer and children's author. September 20th, Gold Coast Skeptics in the Pub. Come for food, drinks, and conversation. Skeptics in Action. If you have any ideas for stories or want to contribute to Skeptics communications, such as the magazine or Facebook page, or just have something you want to get off your chest, then you're welcome to get in touch. News leads should be sent to newstips@skeptics.com.au. Submissions for the magazine, etc. should go to editor@skeptics.com.au. Comments and suggestions, even rude ones, should also go to editor@skeptics.com.au. Items of interest. Humane Society uses animal psychic to encourage adoptions. The U.S. Humane Society of Sonoma County has used, quote, adorable therapy dogs and a pet psychic for enticement, unquote. Good cause, wrong message. Even if it is, quote, just lots of fun, unquote. Listicle number 1, 10 best movies about telekinesis. A mixed bunch, from the cute, fun with telekinesis, Matilda, to scientific conspiracy, The Power, to ethical responsibilities, Chronicle, to the bloodthirsty revenge I'll explode your head version, suitable for families, Scanners. That's a joke, by the way. It's not really suitable for kids, or adults for that matter. Okay. The silly story of the week. This is rather silly. Apparently, a ghost's penis was caught on camera by paranormal fans. Honestly, really? Tim, I don't know where you get these stories from, but don't forget, you can subscribe to this newsletter at skeptics.com.au.
Hola, les habla Paula desde la hermosa ciudad de Buenos Aires, en Argentina. Cuando escuchamos podcasts, escuchamos los mismos que escucha todo el mundo, como The Skeptic Zone. Ojalá puedan venir a visitarnos algún día. Los esperamos con nuestras riquísimas comidas locales y hasta podemos ir a bailar un tango. Mientras tanto, sigan disfrutando de su dosis semanal de ciencia y pensamiento racional. ¡Chao!
Well, folks, I know that people living in Sydney and Melbourne in particular have had enough, have had a gutful of this wretched lockdown that's going week after week after month, but we wonder, how are the folks in Newcastle, just up the coast, coping with this lockdown, and who better to ask than that well-known Newcastle goose, Maynard?
That's right. I can use the word novocastrian without being arrested.
So, Maynard, how's lockdown treating you? What are you doing to beat the lockdown blues?
Look, I've got some great advice for people out there that are thinking, oh, God, there's every day is Wednesday, spelled with a W-H-E-N, Wednesday. And so you need to, differentiate the days by having some simple percussion instruments around your house. So, for example, today is Bongo Day here in the Maynard International Studios. I wake up and I go, and I can do beat poetry. Yes, I was slamming my thing into my thingambo, and I went kaboing. Yeah, man, that's where it's at.
So do you think that many people in Newcastle are doing this to beat the lockdown?
No, not one, just me. Really, not one person. But the good thing is the neighbours are happy at the bongos and not the trombone.
Okay, I think I can understand their point of view. Now, Maynard, you're famous on the Skeptic Zone for doing many, many live interviews, probably over 10 years now worth of live interviews, but for the past few years it's been a bit thin on the ground in that respect.
Well, yes. In fact, I can actually clock it. The last live interview I did was with Mr. Dick Smith himself at a Skeptics dinner, I think it was. Remember that one?
That was some time ago, because
yes,
as 2020 dawned upon us, suddenly we weren't meeting each other because of the virus. We weren't having Skeptics in the Pub where you would normally do lots of interviews. We weren't having conventions when you'd normally do lots of interviews and more interviews plus more interviews. So it's been a long time between drinks for live interviews from Maynard.
Well, look, maybe for you, Richard, but let me tell you, even before there was a worldwide pandemic, people are coming up with ridiculous excuses not to meet me. This is just the latest one. Oh, we can't meet due to a deadly pandemic. Oh, yeah, you said that you couldn't meet me because you were your foot was stuck in the fridge last week, and now it's a pandemic this week. Sure. So, I'm used to all this kind of stuff. But I have used this to go through my archives and look at various things. And I was just actually reading you, I found a Cosmo magazine from 1987 here. And I'm just looking at the Cosmo Doctor. And it's pretty much like Dolly Doctor, just slightly older. 87.
What was happening in 1987?
Oh, here we go. In the Cosmo section, what is the severe childhood disorder known as autism? They're asking in 1987, which I would have thought that autism was reasonably well known in 87.
That's a really good question. I'm not sure, but I bet there's nothing. You won't find anything there saying, "Oh, it's caused by vaccination." That conspiracy theory.
What does it say? Oh, and they're asking, can it be cured? And also the use of language in 87, very different.
Really?
It says, can it be cured? Are autistic children mentally retarded.
Oh boy, that really dates it, doesn't it?
I don't think you use that language now. And what do they say? No. I'm just looking for vaccinate. No. And again, and the answer also uses the phrase mentally retarded as well.
Wow.
And it says the autism is unknown.
Yeah.
Current theories focus on abnormalities of certain neurotransmitters, chemicals in the brain, blah, 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 blah. No, it does not mention vaccines even once.
Well, that I guess we're talking about nearly 35 years ago. But just earlier, you were telling me that the 1987 edition of Cosmopolitan has a big horoscope section.
Oh, yeah, huge horoscope section. I just read it a bit to you there, and it's just as vague as it is now. And I thought it might have been Jessica, the astrologist, doing it, but it's someone else I didn't quite know. Also, in the doctor page, they go, is chlorine in swimming pools? It irritates my eyes. Is it dangerous to swim in a chlorinated pool? As modern as tomorrow.
As modern as tomorrow.
And who was doing the horoscope? It was someone called Diane Pilatsky.
Ooh.
There you go. And there was like 3 full pages all about it, right next to the ad for the amazing new yogurt that was out called YoPlay.
Oh, I've heard about that yogurt. I think it'll do pretty good. YoPlay.
Also, they're really pushing jodhpurs as a fashion statement, if you want to go horse riding or wandering around town. And all the women seem to have extremely short hair and spiky. Seems to be the big deal.
I guess that was 87, yeah.
Yeah, it was 87, all right. And yeah, all the models have really short hair, definitely, like almost like a buzz cut kind of thing in bleach. So that's the fashion report from Maynard here. See, I don't need Trove. I've got my house. I've got Maynard International Studios. In fact, if I look to my right, I can see, oh yeah, this is a very controversial book, which I read every once in a while. It's from 1949, this book, by Edwin Fogelman, and is Hiroshima, the decision to use the A-bomb. And it's got everybody, including Harry Truman, all the military guys from the end of the Second World War saying, yep, we did that, we were fine, good to go. And it's really interesting because the language is quite strong. It's all very influenced by the Second World War that only just kind of finished. And there's not one voice going, oh, maybe we shouldn't have done that. No, there's not one person. It's like 18 people who did essays for it, and not one of them says, hey, maybe we shouldn't have done that. But, so it's very of the time, which is why I like it. Sometimes if you go back to the historical records, it's like basically what people were thinking at the time, and you don't get that sort of revisionism that you get like years down the track. And actually, how far forward does Trove go? Can you get Trove from like only 2 or 3 years ago? When does it cut out?
No, it sort of cuts out. I think it can stretch into the 70s if you're lucky, something like that, maybe the 80s. But it's for more historical research, not modern, up-to-date news.
All right, so if you want to know when jodhpurs were really big in the fashion world, you go to Trove.
Maybe something like that. Now, tell me, Maynard, apart from looking into strange books in your Maynard archives there.
Oh, look, I could go through heaps more. I've got my 1600 VW Beetle manual, fixing it for a car I haven't got anymore. I've got a book called How to Sound Clever. I do have to use that a lot.
Yes.
And, of course, my favourite, The Naughtiest Reindeer, a children's book. Which is great. It's almost as much fun as Mr. Chicken Goes to Paris, the greatest book ever written.
It's amazing you have time to do anything else, but you do other things too. You do lots of stuff over at maynard.com.au. What can people expect if they go there?
Well, until the COVID pandemic shut down the Newcastle area, I was doing some work there on the Castanet Club exhibition because obviously no one from Sydney or anyone else now can actually go see this exhibition, which finishes on the 31st of October, and so they had to shut the actual museum. So I hosted a few clips, and we got local bands to play songs. Every skeptic will enjoy this, because I remember when we went to Melbourne and the launch night for the Skeptics Conference had a wonderful woman playing the harp.
That's right, that was great, yes, some years ago.
Well, at the end of Almost Live from the Castanet Club, the show I host, it's only a little 20, 30-minute show. At the end of it, there was a group called, and I'll say this carefully so you don't mishear it, the Nutbush Seating Limits. The Nutbush Seating Limits with a two-piece. and one person playing a harp, and the singer playing a Casio, a really old Casio keyboard. Go makes funny noises, and she had a 3-octave range. Beautiful.
Yes,
very well.
Yes, I've seen the clip. It's amazing.
Yes, and they did The Legend of Xanadu by David D. Dozy, Beaky, Mick and Tish, which I believe is Tim Mendham's favourite band of all time.
I think that's right. I think Tim Mendham just loves to kick back and listen to that.
It's well worth a look, because it's not very often you get the 70s Casio and the harp together. The only thing that's missing is the talking bit in the middle, because there's a talking bit. What was it to you that one man gave down his life for a cheese sandwich or something like that? And I really think that Leonard Teal should have done that, but unfortunately he's dead. Just a quick question, Richard. Who was the best guest artist on Skippy the Bush Kangaroo?
Oh, for my money, John Laws.
Okay, I would say Frank Thring myself.
Frank Thring, yes.
Frank Thring,
and I think Laws, he did well out of that because he sang in it and he got lots of residuals.
Residuals,
yeah.
That's right. Yes, and it's actually called. Sometimes it's called synchronization as well. And look, because Right Said Fred, and I know they're not big with the skeptics. Because Right Said Fred, they're not maskers, and I don't know if they're anti-vaccination people, but they actually, they have made 6 times the amount of money from I'm Too Sexy than the song actually sold by just having it for ads and things like that.
That's the way to go. That's the way to go.
It's almost like, the song originally made them £6 million in 90s money, and they've made 3 or 4 times that just by having it for ads and everything like that. Isn't that annoying, Richard? Haven't you got a song you can sell to someone and make some money?
I think we should write one. Maynard, maybe about beating the lockdown.
Oh, yeah, I'm bongo crazy because I'm going crazy because I'm locked down and no one talked to me anyway in the first place. There you go. See, it's just like that. It's just that I don't know where that comes from. It's just genius.
Well, somebody has now heard that on the Skeptic Zone. They're probably writing it down and going to make a fortune out of it.
Yeah, so get along there and have a look at the video, because it's funny, because it's like what happened last year, Richard. I've done the whole video live streaming thing again because everyone's at home and they can't go anywhere.
Folks, if you want to get a dose of the bongos or anything else, head to maynard.com.au. Maynard, you have been putting out some live videos on Saturday nights. You're giving that a rest for a little while, but I hope that starts up again soon.
Oh, look, I'm going to be doing it in September because I figured, look, what's the only thing I can do in life? The only 2 things I can do in life that we know of is I can interview people live reasonably well, but of course that's not available at the moment, and I can do some Zoom stuff, sure. And the other thing is I can present strange things that no one really ever needs to see from a cultural perspective. As they would say at Triple J, the radio station I used to work at, Maynard's very good at selling the unsellable. And that's exactly what I do when I do a show, because, look, do people really need to see you in the rhythm of life in that movie Sweet Charity?
They don't.
But I will play that clip, and you are in that clip.
Yes, I'm afraid I've seen it, and I think
clip,
I am. I think that's
Richard
me.
Saunders Richard's in a grey suit dancing around with, it could be Shirley MacLaine or it could be Brian Dunning in a red wig.
I think it's Brian Dunning in a red wig. I think he and I turned up one day and they said, look, you two do this, and I remember that.
But it is uncanny how much that actor looks like you. It's the way he looks around sideways at the cult meeting. It's very Saunders. Very Saunders indeed. But look, everybody, hang in there.
Hang in there.
Basically, look. Even if the pandemic lifted tomorrow, no one would tell me because they want me to stay at home. Yeah. But the good thing about Newcastle is I'm within range to go to the beach.
Mm.
So that's where I'll be getting my exercise. I'm going to be. Oh, that's right, Richard. Have you ever heard? Now when they say cleanse your aura.
Cleanse your aura, yes.
Yes. Well, one of the ways that they say you should cleanse your aura is to bathe in salt water in the sea. That cleanses your aura, apparently.
Right.
I've just got to find it to take it there. That's the only problem. I don't know where it is. I think it's underneath the glove box in the car.
Well, I'm sure you'll find your aura there, or you'll find something else. Maynard, all the way from Newcastle, from maynard.com.au. I'm glad to see that the lockdown hasn't sent you crazy.
No, not at all.
Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone. Thank you, Maynard. Thank you for that great advice about beating the lockdown blues. We have hopefully just only another month to go here in Sydney before the lockdowns are lifted, but we don't know, to be honest. We simply don't know. And all I can do is echo the general advice: please get vaccinated. Thank you to those people who get vaccinated and contribute to the Skeptic Zone via Patreon or PayPal at skepticzone.tv. Your contributions mean the show keeps going. Now, if you want to, if you feel compelled to, you can always go over to the Skeptic Zone Facebook page. There's a link on skepticzone.tv, and comment on any issues in any episodes you wish. Now, this Thursday night, 7 p.m. Sydney time, we have Sydney Skeptics in the pub online. Again, that's pretty cool. That's all right. And you can find out more information by going to Meetup and searching for AUST Skeptics, Ost Skeptics, for more details and how to join. Well, you join via the Twitch page. Coming up on next week's show, some details about the upcoming Australian Skeptics New Zealand Skeptics Joint Conference Convention this year in late November. But for this week, this is Richard Saunders signing off from Sydney, Australia. You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Please visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for show notes, contacts, and to access the back catalogue of episodes going back to 2008. You can follow the Skeptic Zone podcast on Twitter at Skeptic Zone, visit our Facebook page, or leave a review on iTunes. You can also support the Skeptic Zone via Patreon or PayPal. The Skeptic Zone podcast is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed on the Skeptic Zone are not necessarily those of Australian skeptics or any other skeptical organisation.
I've read this so many times and it still makes me laugh. Okay. Silly story of the week. It's apparently a ghost penis is caught on camera by paranormal fans. Oh, God.
Why are you still hanging out to the show, people? Haven't you got a life? Haven't you got somewhere to be? Oh, that's right. You want to do the dice game, which is just like a book, The Dice Man, except it's not quite the same because it's Richard Saunders. Richard, what have I got to do here? I've got something in my hand that's square.
Hello, Maynard. Well, that's unexpected. Normally it's me at the end of the show doing the dice game. If you have a dice with you, a die, I think it's... Oh, that sounds like a six-sided one to me. And it sounds like it's from Las Vegas.
Dice from the South Point Casino in Las Vegas, which is where these... Was that where we went to Tam? Is that where?
Yes, absolutely. Those were the days.
Yes. Remember? Yes, there'd be more than three people in a room.
Those were the days. What you do, Maynard, is you roll the dice 3 times, let everybody have a guess between rolls, and we'll see if we can use our collective psychic power or dumb luck to guess the number. And I'm going to put my hand up and say, I was going to say 3.
Okay, 3. Okay, I'll roll it once. Here we go. Oh, it's a 6.
A 6. Well, 2 3s are 6, so I sort of nearly got it right.
Okay.
So the first number is 6.
More.
Now I'll say 1.
Okay. 3.
Then in that case, I'm going to say 6.
And what's the Susan Gerbic number? What
5.
You always think it's 2, is it?
5.
5. Okay. Here we go. Do you think Susan Gerbic is kind of like the... I thought Brian Dunning was the Shirley MacLaine of the Skeptics movement, but maybe it's Susan Gerbic.
Maybe it's Susan Gerbic, yeah.
Okay, here we go. Rhythm of life is a... Here we go. Ooh.
2. Oh, well, I didn't get one.
So how does that go for a statistical spread, if I can use that kind of language? Is that normal?
Think with
6, 3, and 2?
I think that's pretty normal for 3 rolls of a 6-sided die, Maynard. I think that's pretty run-of-the-mill.
Okay. And look, immediately, people, when this ends, open your browser, go to YouTube, watch Sammy Davis Jr. doing The Rhythm of Life with the choreography by Bob Fosse, and keep an eye out for someone who looks a lot like Weird Al Yankovic, but it's not him because Al was only 10 when that movie was made, but there is a guy who looks like Weird Al in it as well. And that's my gift to the world. Sammy Davis Jr. singing like that. It's a great tune. The Rhythm of Life is a skeptical beat. Yeah,